Hey everyone, this is a guide for the Long Dark Interloper. I'm going to be giving you a few tips that will help you survive in the Long Dark on Interloper difficulty. The first tip that probably helps a lot of people out is going to be counteracting wolves. So when wolves are trying to attack you, they notice you, I always do one thing to keep them away. Anytime I go outside, I make sure that I either have a torch or a flare. I pretty much only travel with a torch in my hands. That way I can actually drop it and aim a weapon at the wolf and it'll run away. Works like 100% of the time. Also, if an animal is chasing you, like a bear or a wolf, you can run up on rocks and get to an area that they can't even get to you at. That has saved me numerous times. It might be the best thing you can do in defense of an animal if you don't have a weapon that can take it out in a single shot. Also, for attacks, you're going to need to make an improvised knife and hatchet in order to defend yourself whenever you're in a wolf struggle. But when you're in a wolf struggle on Interloper, chances are you might be dead. The second thing I'm going to bring up is kind of a tiny tip, and that is starving throughout the day. So hunger is probably the least important stat in this game that you need to keep check on. So during the daytime, you can actually not eat food at all and only eat food when you need to sleep. You need 750 calories in order to sleep through the entire night and heal. So as long as you have enough food for 750 calories, you should be able to regain all the health you lost during that day and more. To go with that, as another tip, you need to make sure that you're collecting a ton of things. Starting off with herbal tea and birch bark. Birch bark turns into herbal tea. If you want to be able to get a lot of health back, say you've frozen all day trying to travel, and you haven't eaten, birch bark tea will give you a ton of health back, so always make sure you're on the lookout for that. Also, make sure you grab a lot of reishi mushrooms and any other collectible you can find, because you can make those into tea and they'll give you a bonus called warming up, and that is like invaluable for traveling. It also gives you 100 calories or 150 calories. While starting out on Interloper on any of the maps, you need to know where the spawn for matches are. So matches can always spawn in different places throughout Interloper, but they're always in a set locations. So if it's watching YouTubers play certain starts or just attempting to do it yourself, you can end up learning where all the match spawns are at on the map. In Desolation Point, you always find a match, usually in the cannery. It could be upstairs, downstairs, it could be anywhere around. Forlorn Muskeg always has matches at the forge, so keep an eye out when you go there. Unlike Stalker, you don't spawn with matches, so knowing where you can find those matches is super important for survival. You need matches to start a fire and get warm, or you will freeze to death. Hypothermia and frostbite are not great. Talking about not having clothes in the Long Dark Interloper, you don't spawn with a hat or gloves, so make sure that you're collecting cloth and a sewing kit so that you can make yourself an improvised hat and an improvised pair of gloves. Those will save you from frostbite, and nobody wants frostbite. Frostbite is a permanent disadvantage to your character for the entire game. Make sure that you check the weather and what the sky looks like outside so you can tell if there's going to be a blizzard or not, so you can plan your day around it. Planning is one of the most important aspects of this entire game. Planning where you're going and what you're going to do. One thing I like to make sure of if I don't have an extra flare on me is to make sure I only travel when it's not windy or when I have cover so that I can have a torch out in case of a wolf attack. In Interloper, there's a couple of really important items to save matches, and one of them is the Fire Striker. It doesn't last forever, but you can start your torch with that Fire Striker, and when you have it in your inventory, it'll ask you what you want to use to start a fire. And since there's only one type of match in Interloper, the Fire Striker can help you not strike your matches on accident and waste them. One of the biggest aspects about the Long Dark Interloper is trying to get to the forge to create your hatchets and your improvised knife. Those two items are one of the most important things that you could possibly get, and in order to usually make them, you need 9 scrap metal. You can go to caves and mines in order to collect a ton of coal so you can get the forge up and running hot. I think it needs to be over 150 degrees Celsius in order for you to actually forge. So if you need help forging or you need help learning where the forges are, there's a lot of maps all online that can teach you, and you could probably find some videos. So if you need help finding the forge and actually forging, I have a video. It's episode 4 of my The Long Dark Interloper series that shows me going to Forlorn Muskeg and forging those 2 items and arrowheads. Make sure to make arrowheads on your way. I usually take around 12 scrap metal in order to make sure that I have everything I need to craft. There's a couple items you should be looking out for whenever you go to your forge run. You should make sure that you have a maple sapling and you drop it so it cures, because you need 1 maple sapling in order to make a bow. You also need 2 guts. So keep a lookout for rabbits and let their guts cure. In order to make arrow shafts, you need birch saplings. So keep a lookout for them. They're white, the maples are green. It doesn't take too long for birch to cure, but maple might take a little while. You can make 3 arrow shafts with 1 birch sapling. You also need to gather feathers around dead bodies and dead animals so that you can make arrows with those. Later on, when you've been surviving for quite a while, you can try to find a base. I usually base up in buildings that don't have as many wolves near them. In Mystery Lake, I really like the camp office. In In Mountain Town, I really like the gas station since it's outside of town where all the wolves are at. Pleasant Valley has the main farmhouse. That is a great place to stay. There are a lot of maps in the game in which you can't survive or are really too far out for you to survive very well. Coastal Highway, I really like Misanthrope's homestead. The gas station at Coastal Highway is very dangerous though. There are wolves that sit outside of it, so watch out if you try to base up there. The last tip I really have is just try to gather your surroundings. Try to make sure that you know where you're going and learn where you're going. Remember where the roads are at. Remember where different houses can be. That way when you're traveling to an area, you can know, oh, if I need to get inside to get away from the cold, I know where I can stop. Just make sure you keep playing and keep trying, and you'll end up getting it down pretty easily. At first, you'll be really happy in order to survive a few days and get the items that you need. And after a while, a forge run will be nothing to you. That's just the beginning of your game. Then, you're looking towards long-term survival. To add to forging, so in order to forge, you need a couple things. You need a hacksaw and a hammer, so keep your eyes out for those. I'd say some of the most important items in the game is your hammer, hacksaw, and also a bedroll. So keep an eye out for those. The magnifying lens would probably go in that category because it doesn't get destroyed. So if you find a magnifying lens, make sure to only light fires when it's light outside so that you can save matches for times that you really need them. You never know when the next blizzard's going to come and you'll need a match in order to light a fire, or you'll die of dehydration or starvation. If you're having trouble finding the items, there's actually a pretty cool tooltip on a Google Doc that you can find that shows a loot spawn point for every possible spawn on the Long Dark Interloper. I'm pretty sure there are 5 loot pools that it could be, and say that you find a hacksaw in Coastal Highway's gas station and a hammer in one of the fishing huts, then you're on that loot table, and you can look up where you'll find the magnifying lens in Mystery Lake and so on. If you don't want to play that cheap, then the only thing that I can give you is you gotta play a lot so you can start finding these things. There are also all the maps for every single area in the Long Dark posted on Steam and other websites. So if you don't know how to get around, I do recommend you going and looking at the maps online. They can be kind of hard to read, but they could really help you get around. It's a good way to learn, and it makes learning the map a lot faster. So one of the things I like to do on my first day is I like to go and try to find where my matches are. On any of the maps, I try to find my first matches and start a fire in the building I'm going to stay in. With this fire, you want to do a couple things. You're going to want to make a bunch of water and grab a ton of torches, so make sure you're collecting sticks everywhere when you first spawn. That is one of the most important things you can do, along with grabbing cattails and any other type of collectible. After you've started a fire and looted the buildings that you're going to loot, and got a bunch of torches and water, what you're going to want to do is probably leave the map the next day so that you can get out of that map and go to a comfortable place. Remember, you're going to need enough torches to travel through the connector maps, and sometimes those maps are very large with a lot of wolves on them. I can only think of one connector that doesn't have wolves on it, so chances are you're probably going to run into some wolves. So make sure you grab a ton of torches out of your fire, make your way to bed, and the next day, get the heck out of there. Nobody wants to be stuck in a map that doesn't have any comfortable place to stay, nothing to loot, and a ton of animals. If you keep on dying every time on your first day, that's no big deal because you're going to keep learning how these new maps work and you're going to get better and better at surviving. Sometimes I spawn on my first day and I can't make it out even though I've played this game for a very long time. That is just how hard the Interloper version of this game can be. You can't always live when you spawn. Sometimes it's the middle of the night and you end up dying because you can't find where you need to go. So try to spawn during the day, that way when you get into the building, you can actually find those matches you're looking for. On the first day, just make sure you don't get frostbite and you're able to get to a place quick enough, and you can start fires on your way out of there so you don't freeze to death. The worst thing is getting frostbite trying to leave to a different map where you know you want to stay and you know you can find a ton of really good loot. So thank you guys for watching. I hope I helped any of you with this information. If you enjoyed the video, drop me a like and subscribe to my channel. I post tons of different video games and I plan on branching out and doing a lot more things. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.